The minimum wage.
Totally against
Can you
it.
go?
Totally against it.
What do you
100%.
mean you're against the minimum wage?
Yeah.
As in, it should be raised.
No minimum wage.
No minimum
No
wage.
minimum wage.
You could literally pay someone $2 to
Pay
work.
them. You can pay them nothing.
Just still on a socialism aspect,
Yeah.
I don't see where it's just tugging at the heartstrings.
Well, we got to be specific. Look, with regards to people that can't, like, let's say we've got an armless and legless person,
Okay.
and they can't fully support themselves.
Yeah.
Of course we should support them. Of course we should. I mean, we're not heartless. But if there's people that are living off the welfare state and they're perfectly capable of going and getting a job and they're not, and they're just living off the welfare state, I mean, that is not okay. You know, we can't have, because eventually what happens is if it's easier, and this is happening after COVID, if it's easier to sit on your ass on the couch and just get all these handouts from the government, the visualization of that is it's like a cart being pulled by people that are paying taxes.
Yeah.
The more people that hop in the cart and just sit in it while the people paying taxes drag it along, eventually gets to the point where no one's dragging it. Everyone just wants to get on the cart, or the people dragging the cart go somewhere else. They move overseas. That's the thing about rich people. You know, they're very good at getting up and leaving. If we want to have a prosperous country, the best form of welfare is a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's not from me. That's from Noel Pearson, Aboriginal Noel Pearson. He said that we shouldn't be doing handouts. And when we are a Havana of low taxes, when people get what they actually invest their time in, when people have the opportunity in a free market, what we have is not a free market right now. The amount the government puts their thumb on the scale is not the situation that we see right now.
Yeah.
But when people have that fruit they can benefit from, because the government gets out of the way with no red tape, no green tape, you know, we're in a situation where we can actually enjoy those fruits and we can flourish, and that creates more jobs. That creates a lot of things. Like the minimum wage, I am totally against the minimum wage. I think it's the worst thing in the world. I'm also against the government paying for our university fees. Biggest mistake. I was conned into it.
I don't think they do in Australia. I think, because I do think HEX is a complete con, because they upfront some cost and then you got to pay them back when you've reached a certain 80 grand, but there's interest on top of that. So it's essentially just creating debt. So I agree with you there. But what's a system, what's an economic system that you believe is the closest to a working system?
Look, I think the government needs to go back to what it was 100 years ago in Australia and 100 years ago in America.
What was that system then?
In terms of taxes, the only way the federal government, the only focus they had was defense.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they were funded was through tariffs with other countries. That was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't even a 1% income tax back then. Like this was how it used to be. The reason income taxes came in was to pay off the debts from the wars. You know, once upon a time, everything ran just fine, you know, without all this money. But now we've got this bureaucrat class that try to justify their own existence, and they don't, it's like, you know, you and your camera guy right there, and it's like, okay, I want to go, can I go to him? I want to commission him to do some camera work for me. And you're like, okay, no worries, but that'll cost you, you know, $50 and I was like, but I just want to give him the $100 myself.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it cost me $150 just because you were the intermediary. I mean, there's so much of that where the guy in the middle is doing jack shit. I mean, the idea that we're having that situation, you know, that's happening everywhere, whether it's the unions. You know, we don't have child labour in Australia anymore. We don't need the unions to the extent that we do, you know, sure, collective bargaining makes sense, but the fact that it's become so entrenched and it's mandatory that you have to be a part of a union, and then these unions directly back one party or another. I mean, what the hell are we doing? This country is completely bought and paid for, and the establishment is entrenching their power, whether it's the Liberals, whether it's Labor, and they back each other. They gang up against the minor parties. They make it harder for them. I mean, it's, you know, we're on knife's edge.
Before we move on from this topic, you said just before you're against, just before, because once you said HEX, I was like, well, I hate that too.
But the minimum wage.
The minimum wage.
Totally against
can
it.
you go?
Totally against it.
What do you
100%.
mean you're against the minimum wage?
Yeah.
As in, it should be raised?
No minimum wage.
No minimum
No
wage.
minimum wage.
As in, like, you could literally pay someone $2 to
Pay
work.
them, you can pay them nothing.
You can pay them.
You can pay them nothing.
Or you sort of that's called internship.
Yeah, internship. Yeah, no, literally, like you're either an intern or you're paid anything up from zero. That's how it should be. You know, as an employer, you need to be able to extract a certain amount of value from someone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're working at Macca's for $5 an hour, which it used to be once upon a time, it used to be even lower. If you're working for that,
but it was valued at that.
It was valued at that,
yeah.
but it was not. It was done by teenagers. It was not meant to be done by an adult that's trying to feed 3 kids.
Yeah,
You know, and this is the problem. When you raise it, it stops the younger one from getting into the workforce because you can't get, you know, $15 an hour value out of them. They're just not. They're not going to give you that. And so it creates less jobs. It's a big cudgel on the economy. It doesn't help. But what's meant to happen is people are meant to have an entry level job like that. I love, you know, ganging up on Macca's, but they need an entry job like that to give them skills.
Yeah.
You know, that's not nothing. You know, once upon a time, I think it was the 60s, listen to Peter Schiff. He completely debunks the minimum wage. He completely changed my mind on it. I used to be a subscriber of the minimum wage.
Yeah.
You know, I supported Bernie Sanders in 2016. He said, yeah, we need to raise the minimum wage from $10 to $15. Hillary Clinton said we need $12.5 dollars per hour. And this is the thing, I moved on it because Peter Schiff, he gave this other example. He said, when you look at the gas pump, the cars in the 60s and the 50s were the best kept cars because when you'd go to the gas pump, there would be a kid there that would be waiting to pump your gas, basically. So you wouldn't get out of the car. You'd pump your gas, you know, you pay him, you tip him. And that kid, it was an entry-level job. He wasn't paid much, but it taught him to be on time. It taught him to have a certain way about him. Those kids ended up going on to learning and often becoming the mechanics that also worked there. You know, they checked the oil while you were there. That's why the cars were so well kept back then. And those kids, they had a career path as a result. And when you have that, you know, go on to own to become the mechanic there because you're working under someone, like an apprenticeship naturally, become the mechanic, go get your own place, eventually have your own pump, you know.
So you're saying minimum wage is currently, it destroys all of these developmental position that, you know, creates character in these young youths.
100%. There used to be boys that would go and they'd take you to your seat in the cinema. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, like what, rather than going and doing graffiti in the street, you know, and, you know, they're actually doing something of value. They're interacting. They're learning interpersonal skills. They have to show up on time. They get paid something, you know, so that they can own it. They can save up. They become fiscally responsible. Whereas off putting that process from 12, because it was from 12 often this would happen, kids would be employed, up until 18. Now you can start doing it. I mean, that's, guys, you know, no wonder, you know, the founders of America, like Hamilton, were 25 when they wrote the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July.
So no minimum wage.
Yeah, man. He was younger than us.
Yeah.
Are you ready to write the Declaration of Independence?
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip, do consider subscribing. It does help the channel if you also like the video and leave a comment below. Otherwise, have bad luck. Have bad luck. Or you can also watch this video and this video. You might get some good fortune there. Until next time.